To LDI 3.2. In this LDI, we're going to take a look at food myths. This shows up on page 151 of your text. In a recent article entitled Shed These Food Myths, Butter and Eggs, Starches Aren't Villains, Vitamins, Milk, Diet Pop Aren't Heroes, the following research study was presented. Research done at the Harvard School of Public Health showed that regular soda drinkers may have a tendency towards weak and brittle bones associated with osteoporosis. They surveyed 2,622 women who were active athletes in college and classified them as whether they regularly drank soft drinks or rarely drank soft drinks. The proportion of women in each group who suffered bone fractures were determined. The findings: those who regularly drank soft drinks were twice as likely to suffer from bone fractures as those that rarely drank soft drinks. This was from Health and Fitness News Service, August 21st, 1996. Okay, so they're going to ask us some questions about this article, but I'm going to go ahead and preload it a little bit to help us out here. Notice that what they're doing is they're surveying women, and these women that they surveyed happen to have been active athletes in college. Okay, so when they went to college, they were active athletes. All right, so let's keep that in mind. So our first question was this an observational study or an experiment? Hopefully it's pretty obvious that this was observational. Okay. Why? Well, they didn't impose any treatment. They just, surveyed people who were women who had been athletes in college and asked them whether or not they drank soda or not, and then asked them whether or not they had bone fractures, okay? So what was the population under study? Okay, well, that was my preloading there a bit. It's women who were active athletes in college, all right? So our population of interest were active women, all right? Or were women who were active in college. So the population under study, you could say, are women active athletes. So that makes sense, okay? What was the explanatory variable? Well, let's go back and take a look and see what the explanatory variable was here. Our explanatory variable was the drinking of soft drinks, right? They say that women in each group who suffered fractures were determined. The findings: those who regularly drank soft drinks were twice as likely to suffer from bone fractures as those that rarely drank soft drinks. So the explanatory variable is your consumption of soft drinks, okay? So whether you drank soft drinks or not. So what was the explanatory variable? Explanatory variable is soft drink consumption. Okay, and so what do you think the response variable is here? Well, if the explanatory variable was soft drink consumption, and what are they inferring that the soft drink consumption, say that 10 times fast, was doing to you, or was causing bone fractures, right? So the response variable is going to be the bone fractures, whether or not you suffered a bone fracture or not. Okay, so far so good? Hopefully that all makes sense. So suppose that 2,622 selected women were obtained as follows from a list of women from all sports events, so tennis, basketball, etc., available at Harvard. 3 events were selected at random. All alumni women athletes who participated in these 3 events were contacted for the study. What type of sampling technique is being described? Okay, so if you recall our earlier kind of quick discussion about different sampling techniques here, notice that what they did is that they picked 3 events were selected at random, and then all the women were participated in those were contacted, okay? So what that leads us to is that this must have been a cluster sample. Okay, why would that be cluster sampling? Well, because that's the definition of cluster samples. You randomly select a subset of all the possible values in the population, all the possible clusters in the population, and then you take a census within each cluster, okay? All right, so this is a hopefully pretty straightforward LDI. Lots of little good things there. Make sure that you can pull those pieces out from a study. You're going to get some work doing that in the not too distant future. where we ask you to read an article and do very similar sort of things to an article that you pick to read, okay? All right, see you all soon back in the next LDI.